Picture this, you're staring at your screen, heart racing, watching the market move against you again. You told yourself this trade was different. This time you were sure. This time you had it figured out. But now your hands feel cold. Your mind starts whispering, why does this keep happening to me? What am I doing wrong? Frustration builds. Anger kicks in. Doubt creeps deeper. And somewhere inside, a quiet voice says, this is not fair. But let me tell you something. This was never about being fair. This was never about the market. This is about you, because the moment you step into trading, you step into a world where your beliefs are tested, your emotions are exposed, and your illusions are shattered. You think you need a better strategy, a better entry, a better system. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. The truth is, there are certain realities, certain principles, certain brutal truths that every trader must accept. And until you accept them, you will keep repeating the same cycle, hope, excitement, confidence, loss, fear, regret, over and over again. Understand this. The market is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects your impatience, your ego, your need to be right. And today, we're going to break that illusion. Today, you're going to face the 5 truths that separate struggling traders from those who finally take control, not of the market, but of themselves. And once you truly understand this, everything changes. The way you see trades, the way you handle losses, the way you think. So the real question is, are you ready to let go of what you believe trading should be and finally see it for what it really is? Truth 1, the market owes you nothing. Imagine this. You enter a trade with confidence. Your analysis feels perfect. Everything lines up. Every indicator agrees. Every signal screams, this is it. And for a moment, you feel powerful, like you finally figured it out. Like the market is about to reward you, but then it turns, slowly at first, then aggressively, and suddenly you're staring at red. Confusion hits, frustration follows. And that voice inside you whispers, why would it do this? I did everything right. And that's the exact moment where the truth begins to hurt. Because this is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. The market doesn't know you exist. It doesn't care about your analysis, your effort, your sleepless nights. It doesn't reward hard work. It doesn't punish mistakes. It simply moves, and the moment you expect anything from it, you've already lost control, because expectation is the seed of emotional pain. Expectation creates attachment, and attachment blinds you. Understand this. You were never trading the market. You were trading your expectations. You wanted to be right. You needed validation. You believed that if you followed your rules, the market owed you a win. But the market doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on uncertainty, pure, unforgiving uncertainty. And this is where everything starts to break inside you. Because your mind craves certainty. It wants control. It wants guarantees. But trading offers none of that. None, and instead of accepting it, you fight it. You overanalyze, you overtrade, you revenge trade, trying to force the market to give you what you think you deserve. But let me ask you something. How many times has that worked? You see the pattern, don't you? Hope turns into excitement. Excitement turns into confidence. Confidence feeds your ego. And then loss hits and everything collapses. Fear takes over. Panic clouds your decisions. And regret finishes the cycle. Again and again, the same story, different trade. The market is not your opponent. It is your mirror. It reflects your need to control what cannot be controlled. It exposes your belief that you deserve to win. It shows you the truth you keep avoiding. This is where everything changes. The moment you truly accept that the market owes you nothing, not a win, not a break even, not even a second chance. Something shifts inside you. Your expectations disappear. Your emotional attachment weakens. And for the first time, you begin to see clearly. Because now, you're not trading to be right, you're trading to execute. You're not demanding outcomes, you're allowing probabilities to play out. And that is the beginning of real power. But here's the problem. Even if you understand this, even if you accept that the market owes you nothing, there's still something deeper holding you back. Something even more dangerous. Because if the market owes you nothing, then what does that say about your ability to predict it? Truth 2, you cannot predict, only react. Picture this. You're sitting there, watching the chart, waiting for the perfect setup, your eyes locked, your mind calculating, trying to anticipate the next move before it happens. You feel sharp, in control. Like if you can just read it right this one time, everything will change, and then you say to yourself, I know where this is going. You enter early, confident, almost certain, but then The market hesitates, it stalls, it fakes, and suddenly it moves in the opposite direction. Your confidence cracks, confusion creeps in, and that voice gets louder. How did I not see that coming? And right there, right in that moment, reality hits. This is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. You were never meant to predict the market. Never. The idea that you can consistently know what will happen next is the biggest illusion you've been holding on to. And it feels good. Doesn't it? It feeds your ego. It gives you a sense of control. It makes you believe you're smarter than the randomness. But understand this, the market doesn't reward prediction. It punishes it. Because the moment you try to predict, you become attached to being right. Attached to your analysis, attached to your opinion, and that attachment, it blinds you. You ignore warning signs. You hold losing trades longer, you exit winners too early. All because your mind is fighting to protect one thing. Your ego, the truth is uncomfortable, but you need to hear it every time you say, I think the market will do this. You're stepping into a battle you cannot win, because the market is not a puzzle to solve. It's a probability to manage. Read that again. It's not about knowing, it's about responding. The market is like the ocean, unpredictable, constantly shifting. You don't control the waves. You don't predict every movement. You learn to react, to adapt, to flow with it. And the moment you try to dominate it, it drowns you. This is where most traders break, because letting go of prediction feels like losing control. It feels like weakness, like you're just guessing, but in reality, this is where true strength begins. Because when you stop trying to predict, you start to observe, you start to wait, you start to execute based on what is not what you hope will be. And something powerful happens. Hope fades. Clarity rises. You no longer chase the market. You respond to it. You no longer need to be right. You just need to follow your process. And now the emotional cycle begins to shift. Hope still comes. Excitement still builds. But ego loses its grip. Losses don't feel like personal attacks anymore. Fear doesn't control you the same way panic doesn't take over your decisions. Because you finally understand it was never your job to predict. It was your job to react. But here's the deeper truth. Even when you learn to react instead of predict, there's still something that will mess with your mind, something that will make you question everything. Because what if, even when you do everything right, the outcome still feels random? True 3 wins and losses are randomly distributed. Imagine this. You follow your rules perfectly, your setup is clean, your entry is precise, your risk is controlled, everything looks exactly the way it should, and this time you feel different. Calm, confident, certain that this trade has to work, because you did everything right. And then it loses, just like that, no warning, no explanation, just loss. And your mind freezes, frustration builds, and that voice returns, louder than ever. What's the point of doing it right if I still lose? And right there, right in that painful silence, the truth hits. This is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. This is where most traders break, not because they don't have a strategy, not because they lack knowledge, but because they cannot accept this one brutal reality. Wins and losses are randomly distributed. Understand this. Even with a strong edge, even with a system that works over time, you cannot predict which trade will win and which one will lose. You can do everything right and still lose. You can make a mistake and still win. And that messes with your mind, because your brain is wired for cause and effect. It wants a clear answer. If I do this, I should get that. But trading doesn't work like that. Trading lives in probabilities, not certainties. And probabilities don't guarantee outcomes. They only suggest possibilities. And this is where the emotional storm begins. You start with hope. This trade looks perfect. Then excitement. This is going to be a winner. Then confidence builds. Ego steps in. I figured this out. And then loss, unexpected, sharp, unforgiving. And suddenly fear takes over. Doubt creeps in. Panic follows, and you begin to question everything. Your system, your skill, yourself. You see the cycle, don't you? It showed you your hope. It showed you your ego. It showed you your fear. But more than anything, it showed you the truth you've been resisting. You are trying to control something that is inherently uncontrollable. The market is like flipping a weighted coin. You might have an edge, maybe 60% in your favor, but that doesn't mean the next flip will be heads, or even the next 5. And when those losses come in a row, your mind starts to break, because you expected consistency in outcomes instead of consistency in execution. This is where everything changes. The moment you truly accept that wins and losses are random, something shifts inside you. You stop judging your trades based on outcomes and start judging them based on process. You stop celebrating wins blindly and stop fearing losses emotionally. Because now, a loss doesn't mean failure, and a win doesn't mean you were right. Read that again. A loss doesn't mean failure, and a win doesn't mean you are right. That realization, it frees you. It disconnects your identity from the outcome, it weakens your ego, it stabilizes your emotions, and for the first time, you begin to trade with consistency, not in results, but in behavior. And that is where real discipline is born. But here's the deeper challenge. Even if you accept randomness, even if you understand probabilities, there's still a hidden trap waiting for you, because what if you start expecting your edge to guarantee results? Truth for edge means probability, not certainty. Picture this. You finally have a system, something you trust, something that has worked before. You've tested it, you've seen it win, you've felt that rush of confidence when everything aligns. And now, as you sit there waiting for your next setup, there's a quiet belief growing inside you. This is it, this one should work. You enter the trade with calm confidence. But underneath that calm, there's expectation, subtle, quiet, dangerous. And then the market moves against you, slowly at first, then aggressively, and suddenly you're back in that familiar place. Frustration, disbelief, anger. But this was my edge. This was supposed to work. And right there, that moment, that sting, this is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. Having an edge does not mean you will win this trade, or the next, or even the next 5. An edge is not a guarantee. It is not certainty. It is simply a statistical advantage over time, over a series, over a large sample. But your mind doesn't like that. Your mind wants now, it wants proof. It wants validation in the next trade. And that's where the trap begins. Because the moment you expect your edge to deliver immediate results, you stop trusting it. You start interfering. You start tweaking, doubting, overanalyzing, abandoning the very thing that was supposed to guide you. Understand this. An edge is like planting seeds. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. You don't dig it up every hour to check if it's growing, but that's exactly what you're doing with your trades. You enter and then you watch. Every tick, every movement, every fluctuation, emotionally reacting, questioning, interfering, because deep down you're not trusting the process. You're demanding certainty. It gives opportunity. Read that again. It gives opportunity, not certainty, and this is where your emotional journey starts to shift again. Hope still shows up. Excitement still builds, but now ego becomes more subtle, more dangerous. It whispers, you have an edge, you should win. And when that doesn't happen, loss feels heavier, more personal, more frustrating. Fear creeps in faster, panic follows sooner, and suddenly you're breaking your rules, exiting early, skipping setups, or worse, forcing trades that don't even fit your system. All because you expected certainty from something that was never designed to give it. Let me say it clearly. Your edge does not exist to make you right. Your edge exists to make you profitable over time. There is a difference, a massive difference. This is where everything changes. The moment you stop expecting your edge to win and start allowing it to play out over a series of trades, your mindset shifts. You become patient, you become consistent, you become disciplined, you stop chasing outcomes, and start executing your process. And something powerful happens. Losses no longer shake you the same way. Wins no longer inflate your ego. You become stable, grounded, focused, because now you understand the game you're actually playing. Not a game of certainty, but a game of probabilities. But even then, even with this understanding, there's still one final truth, one that most traders ignore, one that quietly destroys consistency. Because what if every single moment in the market is completely different from the last? Truth 5, every moment in the market is unique. Imagine this. You see a setup forming, and instantly your mind jumps back, I've seen this before. Last time this worked perfectly. A sense of comfort washes over you. Confidence builds, maybe even a little excitement. Because now it feels familiar, predictable, safe. You enter the trade, already convinced you know what comes next. But then something feels off. The movement is slower. The reaction is different. The follow-through never comes. And suddenly the trade turns against you. Confusion hits first, then frustration. And that voice inside you says, but this was the same setup. And right there, in that moment of disbelief, the truth reveals itself. This is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. No two moments in the market are ever the same. Not one. It may look similar. It may feel familiar. It may remind you of a past trade. But underneath that surface, everything is different. The participants are different. The volume is different. The intentions are different. The context is different. And yet, your mind ignores all of that. Because your brain is wired to find patterns, to connect the present with the past, to create certainty where none exists. It sees something that looks the same and instantly assumes it will behave the same. But that assumption is where the damage begins, because now you're no longer trading what is happening, you're trading what already happened. You're reacting to memory, not reality. And that is dangerous. The market is like a river, constantly flowing, constantly changing. You can step into it twice, but it will never be the same water, and yet every time you trade, you bring your past experiences into the present moment, expecting the same outcome. This is where your emotional cycle becomes even more subtle. Hope is no longer blind. It's backed by memory. Excitement feels justified. Confidence feels earned. Ego becomes stronger because now you believe you know. And when the trade fails, it hits harder because now it's not just a loss. It's confusion. It's doubt in your understanding. It's frustration with the market. Why didn't it behave the same? But the real question is, why did you expect it to? Understand this. The moment you believe the market is repeating itself, you stop seeing clearly. You filter reality through your past, and that distortion leads to poor decisions. Hesitation, overconfidence. This is where everything changes. The moment you truly accept that every moment in the market is unique, you stop projecting, you stop assuming, you stop expecting, you begin to observe cleanly, objectively, without bias. You stop saying, this looks like that trade, and start asking, what is happening right now? Your mind becomes quieter, your reactions become sharper, your decisions become more precise. Because now you are present, not in the past, not in your memories, but in the only place where trading actually happens, the now. And in that state, fear loses its grip, ego loses its influence, and clarity takes over. But here's the final truth, the one that ties everything together. Because understanding all of this doesn't mean you've mastered it. The real question is, can you accept it fully without resistance, without ego? Conclusion. Imagine this. Months from now, you're sitting in front of the same screen, the same charts, the same market, but something feels different. There's no rush, no anxiety, no desperate need to be right. A trade sets up, you take it clean, calm, controlled. It wins, you don't celebrate. It loses, you don't react. And for the first time, you feel something unfamiliar. Peace. And that's when it hits you. This is not about the market. This is about you. Let me tell you something. Everything you've been chasing, the consistency, the confidence, the control, it was never hiding in a strategy. It was never locked inside some perfect setup. It was waiting behind these truths, the ones you kept resisting, the ones that challenged your ego. The market owes you nothing. You cannot predict, only react. Wins and losses are randomly distributed. Your edge is probability, not certainty. And every moment in the market is unique. These are not just ideas. These are realities. And the moment you stop fighting them, the moment you stop trying to bend the market to your expectations, everything begins to change. Because now you're no longer trapped in that emotional cycle. Hope doesn't control you. Excitement doesn't blind you. Ego doesn't lead you. Loss doesn't break you. Fear doesn't paralyze you. Panic doesn't consume you. Why? Because you finally understand the game. Trading was never about being right. It was never about predicting the next move. It was never about controlling the outcome. Trading is about controlling yourself. It's about executing when your system tells you to execute. It's about accepting losses without emotional reaction. It's about trusting probabilities without demanding certainty. This is where everything changes. Because now, discipline replaces ego, patience replaces impulsiveness, clarity replaces confusion, and in that space, in that mindset, consistency is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you live. The market becomes a mirror. It showed you your fear, it showed you your need to be right, it showed you your lack of control, but more importantly, it showed you who you needed to become. And now, you stand at a different level, not because the market changed, but because you did. So the real question is not, will you win your next trade? The real question is, now that you know the truth, will you finally have the courage to accept it and become the trader you were meant to be?